Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnana Pradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattvabodha Bhidhiyate. Atma tarhi kaha, then what's the nature of the self? Satchidananda Swarupaha. Atma is, self is, or I am. Atma means I. I am of the nature of Satchit Ananda. Who am I? The question is, you are Satchidananda. You means I is Satchit Ananda. What is Sat? Kalatrepi tishthati, it is Sat. That which stays, abides, obtains in all the three periods of time, in the past, present and future, is Sat. You are that which is always there, which was always there, which will always be there. You or I is Sat, existence, which is not which is beyond the influence of time, which is a very substratum of everything, that which imparts existence to everything, that is the very substratum of everything, that Sat existence is I am, meaning that I am free from birth, free from death, free from modifications, I am changeless, and the abiding reality about myself. Chitkyam, then what is Chit? Chit is consciousness, unqualified consciousness. Because our consciousness, as we said, is generally associated with consciousness of something, like consciousness of a pot, consciousness of a cloth. So usually consciousness we find is always associated with something. That's a qualified consciousness. In all this qualified consciousness, meaning in all these cognitions or perception, what is it that is common? Like there are various ornaments, each ornament can be said to be the qualified state of gold. So gold becomes qualified, gold becomes associated with name and form and comes to be called an ornament. In all the ornaments, what is that is common? It is unqualified gold. So that which is capable of assuming any name and form, but that which is without any name and form, so that which assumes various qualifications, but itself unqualified, that unqualified gold is the truth of all the ornaments. Or unqualified water is the content of all the waves. Unqualified clay is the content of all the pots and pans, and so also unqualified consciousness is the content of all qualified consciousness, all our cognitions. And thus, it is consciousness that illumines every object, just as the light which itself is unqualified illumines the colors and forms, so also the consciousness illumines all the thoughts, illumines all the objects. It is the nature of consciousness to sort of take the form of what it illumines. Like the crystal, which itself is colorless, becomes qualified in presence of an object such as a flower, and crystal by itself is colorless but looks pink on account of the influence of the flower, or it may look orange on account of the influence of this cloth, or it may seem to assume any color depending upon what is placed beside that. Thus, how a color creates an appearance of colorness or colorfulness in the crystal, similarly also an object, a name and form, such as a pot, such as a cloth, such as tree, makes consciousness also looks like having that form, and therefore we have a thought which is consciousness having assumed that form. But in all the thoughts, which occur in our mind, that which is common, which is the essence, which is content of all the thoughts, is consciousness. And what is the form of the consciousness? That which illumines all the forms is without the form. That which illumines all the qualities without qualities. Like the light that illumines all the shapes is without shape. Light that illumines all the colors is without color. So illuminator is always unaffected by what is illumined. The rule is that the illuminator remains unaffected by the attributes of what is illumined. Just as a light that is illuminator remains unaffected by whatever forms and colors and shapes that are illumined, light does not become colored or formed or shaped by illumining them, meaning that the illuminator does not in any way get affected by the attributes of what is illumined. So, consciousness illumines every name and form, illumines every thought, but itself remains free from every qualification. So, what is meant by chit, what is consciousness, is unqualified consciousness, that which is essence or content of every cognition, content of every thought, which illumines every thought, which illumines every cognition, that is consciousness, that is a chit. So, what chit kim? Jnana swarupaha, of the nature of knowledge. Again, the word knowledge also can be used as unqualified knowledge, which is the content of every knowledge, like the pot knowledge, cloth knowledge, tree knowledge. In all this, the knowledge as such, unqualified is the content of all this qualified knowledge. So call it knowledge, call it consciousness, call it awareness. It all amounts to the same thing. It amounts to the unqualified consciousness or awareness or knowledge, chit. So who am I? I am chit swarupaha. I am the nature of consciousness or awareness or intelligence or knowledge, unqualified knowledge. Then Ananda, the third. The next question is, Anandah kaha. What is the meaning of the word Ananda? Then the answer is given, Sukha Swarupaha, of the nature of happiness. So self or I is Sat, of the nature of existence, Chit, of the nature of consciousness, Ananda, of the nature of happiness. So I am happiness. Now, Sat, that I am, is understandable. That I am conscious also I understand. Therefore, that I am Sat or existence or I am is clear to me. That I am Chit or consciousness, that I shine, I illumine, I reveal, that I am conscious, this also is understandable to me. But now it says, I am Ananda, I am happiness, I am fullness, I am wholeness. No, that is something very difficult to understand. So that's why we say that the general knowledge and the special knowledge, the particular knowledge, that I am conscious is a self-evident fact about me, and therefore there is no doubt. Thus, we know ourselves as existing and as conscious. This is what we call the general knowledge. But that I am Ananda, that I am wholeness, I am fullness, I am happiness, I am non-dual, I am Ananta, this is not known to me. So that is where, in that part the superimposition takes place, and I take myself to be opposite to one, I take myself dukkhi. I never take myself as non-existing. That never happens because it's always known. You see, we said yesterday that when I say that this is a snake, in that this is part belongs to the rope. Now somebody calls it this is snake, somebody says this is a garland. Who says it's a garland? Somebody says, no, it's not garland, it's a stick. No, it's not a stick, I think it is streak in the, it's like a crack on the earth, in the earth. No, it is streak of water. Thus, for the same piece of rope, various people can entertain various kinds of notions or delusions. One says this is snake, one says this is garland, One says this is stick. In all of them, this is constant, is unqualified. So that is what we call is the general knowledge about the rope, this. But the particular knowledge that this is rope, that is not there. Therefore, on that aspect, different particularities are superimposed. So instead of rope, you superimpose snake and various other things. And therefore, even when we say this is a snake, that this is that element belongs to rope, that is true. Now here also we have the general knowledge that I am and I am conscious, I shine. Upanishad says or Vedanta says, Ananda, you are Ananda, your wholeness, your happiness. Now we have to just take it. This is called Shraddha. Who says, you mean I am happiness? I am limitless? How can it be? Because my present conclusion or notion about myself are totally contradictory to that. Now, if I have Shraddha or the faith or trust, then I will not reject this statement that you are Ananda. I will give it a benefit of doubt. Even though what I am told that I am Ananda or happiness or wholeness totally contradicts with my present perception of myself, and then I may generally have a tendency that he doesn't know what he's talking about, and I may dismiss it. But what is called Shraddha is giving him benefit of doubt, giving the teacher and the scripture the benefit of doubt. It says that I am Ananda, I am happiness, I am wholeness, whereas my mind says I am Dukhi, I am limited. These are the two totally contradictory perceptions about me. Which one should I retain? They are mutually exclusive. Either I can be limitless or I can be limited. I cannot be both. Either I am happy or unhappy. So these are mutually exclusive concepts. So only one of them can be right, other cannot be right. So which one is right? Is my experience or my perception right, or what the scripture says is right? So what is Shraddha? Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhyavadhana, or Shastra Guru Vakyeshu Vishwasaha. Then if I have Vishwasa, trust in what the Shastra says, then at least I will take it for consideration. When the scriptures say that I am Ananda, I am limitless, let me see whether it is, whether it is possible or not. Maybe it is possible that I am entertaining a misconception about myself. So at least I give it a consideration, give it a benefit of doubt, and see whether it makes sense or not. So can I be happiness? Can happiness be my nature? Can limitlessness be my nature? Yes, it makes sense because I love happiness. I love to be free. I love to be happy. And therefore happiness or freedom is the most important thing in my life. And the general rule is that I am that which I love. A thing is always comfortable with its own nature. As I said, fire is always comfortable being hot, no complaint at all. Sun is always comfortable being bright, no complaint, or hot, again no complaint. Water, comfortable being cold, because that's its nature. If water is heated, then water will become uncomfortable and will struggle to give up that heat until it regains its nature of being cold. River is very uncomfortable because it is separated from its own nature and it becomes comfortable when it meets the ocean. Until then there is a tremendous struggle. So I am also struggling. But do I find myself struggling when I am happy, or do I find myself struggling when I am unhappy? When I am happy, there is no struggle at all. I am very comfortable. When I am unhappy, I become uncomfortable. I become restless. I want to get rid of that. And therefore, unhappiness I hate. Bondage I don't like. Dependence I don't like. And whenever I find myself bound, dependent, controlled, I always resist, I revolt to that. Thus I am comfortable being happy and not comfortable being unhappy. That seems to indicate that happiness must be my nature because therefore I am comfortable. If unhappiness were my nature, I would not have had any difficulty accepting myself as unhappy. We don't have any complaint about what is natural. as Swamiji says, this man goes to a ophthalmologist, an eye doctor, and sees this and says, well, so the doctor asks him, what's your problem? This man says, my problem is I see. You mean you see? You see two where there is one? No, I see one, there is one. You see what is in the distance and not in what is close? No, I see what is in distance as well as what is nearby. You have problem in seeing at night? No, my eyes are very sharp. I can see at night also. You have difficulty in seeing colors? Or you see one color instead of another? No, I see. What is it? I see the color as it is. So what's the problem? That I see. Doctor says, I see, you are in the wrong place, You should not be here. Next block you go, that is where you should be. But nobody will complain like this. I don't think anybody will complain that I see. The complaint is when I don't see, because that is not natural. To see is natural, and when there is obstacle to seeing, that is not, then I complain. There is no complaint when there is what is nature of mine. I never complain about my nature. I complain about unhappiness. I complain about dependence. I complain about being controlled. That shows that it should not be my nature. Otherwise, I would have been comfortable with it. So the fact that we are struggling to become free from unhappiness, we are struggling to become free from mortality, is it not so? Nobody loves death. Asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amrutangamaya. O Lord, lead me from untruth to truth, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. This is the prayer always from my heart. Thus there is love for immortality, love for knowledge, love for truth, love for happiness. And if you analyze, all our desires are for this. Our desires, in fact, can be divided into three classes. One is a set of desires to avoid death and avoid anything that indicates death. Old age also is a pilot, so I want to avoid that. Avoid death, old age, disease, and anything that indicates death, I want to avoid that. And what an amount of effort. Every morning I get up and look at myself in the mirror and then do something with my hair because it's grey, and then do something with this skin because there are some wrinkles, and do something with my stomach because it's bulging. This is one set of activities. And the whole healthcare industry thrives on this, on the human being's desire to avoid death and disease and old age and plastic surgery and everything, all of this. Second thing I cannot tolerate, so I cannot tolerate idea of death with respect to myself. Nobody loves death. Even people who want to commit suicide have no problem with living. They have a problem with pain and they want to avoid pain. That's why, not seeing any other way out of pain, therefore they just want to give up this life. They have no problem with living. They have no problem with existence. They also don't want death. Second thing, nobody wants ignorance. I don't want to be stupid. I don't accept stupidity. Even though I may be stupid, I never accept it. I always want to prove myself as smart, intelligent, knowledgeable. Every debate always, when you see people talking to you can always see, everybody is trying to assert his knowledge and his wisdom. To prove that I know. To prove that I am not fool. Do you think I am a fool? You think I am stupid? I am not. So stupidity, foolishness, ignorance, I can never accept. Even the whole world may call this fellow stupid, but he would not accept that he is stupid. Thus ignorance we cannot accept. We cannot accept. And third thing we are going to accept is unhappiness. I cannot accept to be unhappy. So all the time I am trying to push away ignorance. And that's how the whole printing industry, all of these people thrive, because human being wants to avoid ignorance. Therefore every morning first thing I need is the newspaper to see what's going on, where. And TV and so I want to keep informed, keep myself informed. And third thing, I want to avoid unhappiness, sorrow. I can never accept sorrow. And so all the therapists and all entertainment industry, whatever it is, all is thriving because of my need to become free from sorrow. I find myself sorrowful, I don't accept it. I find myself mortal, I don't accept it. I find myself ignorant, I don't accept it. So all our activities are prompted by desires, and all the desires can be classified in these three categories: desire to avoid death, desire to avoid pain or sorrow, and desire to avoid ignorance or stupidity. And this human being is struggling from one life to the other and not finding. Wherever he goes, there is unhappiness. Wherever he goes, there is mortality. Wherever there goes, there is pain. And therefore, he doesn't find it because he has not looked in one place, and that is his own self. Therefore, the fact that I do not like death is because immortality is my nature. The fact that I cannot accept ignorance is because knowledge is my nature. The fact that I cannot accept sorrow is because ananda or happiness is my nature. Our very activities indicate, the very desires indicate, the very urge in my heart indicates that I love Satchidananda. And that shows that it is my nature. So really ananda or limitlessness is my nature because that's what I love. But then Swamiji, why do I feel miserable? Why do I feel sorrowful? Why do I feel unhappy? That's a big problem. Why is it so? And so the answer is ignorance. And the misconception created by ignorance, a false perception created by ignorance. Like the rope being perceived as a snake. There is no cause, no reason for me to be afraid, but I am afraid because I see snake where it is not. And therefore, that I look upon myself as mortal, I look upon myself as ignorant, I look upon myself as sorrowful, this is the wrong perception about myself. In fact, I am Sat, meaning immortal. I am Chit, meaning knowledge. I am Ananda, meaning happiness, fullness, limitlessness. This is what I am. And it is my false perception of myself that deprives me of owning up this ananda or happiness. So a moment when that false perception drops off, I experience ananda. When do I experience happiness? A moment when this notion of perception that I'm unhappy drops off. I generally hold on to it very fast. The whole world tries to make me happy, but I don't cooperate. I hold on to my notion, I'm unhappy, I'm limited. This is what I hold on to. But in spite of me, sometimes that drops off. As Swami said, this person, has a great complex because he has protruding teeth and therefore he will never laugh. Always cover his face, But sometimes, at a slapstick joke, he forgets and he laughs. That means he forgets his self-consciousness as to who he is, laughs, and then he remembers, and then again he covers his face. But there are moments when we forget ourselves. There are moments when all these notions drop off. That is a moment of happiness. It says something becomes instrumental in causing that. It may be, somebody's birthday, wow, cheesecake, I see it, and a moment I forget everything, that I am an unhappy, miserable creature. Momentarily, that conclusion drops off momentarily, and I think that the cheesecake has made me happy. In fact, I am only experiencing happiness, which is my nature. Momentarily, that notion, that wrong perception, which is blocking or inhibiting that happiness, has gone away, and what is just becomes clear. So I think that I am enjoying cheesecake, in fact I am enjoying myself. I think I'm enjoying ice cream cake, whatever it is, but I'm enjoying myself. And those batata vada, pakoras, whatever, ecstatic. When you eat that, even the way you look makes you so happy. Comes to a plate, happiness grows several fold, and put it in your mouth. What does it do? It just enables me to drop all. I'm pining to let go of that conclusion. And these things help me let go of the conclusion momentarily. Until I eat it, I enjoy it for a second, and then it is so hot. Sometimes we are so enthusiastic, put the whole thing in the mouth. It is so hot in temperature, you don't know what to do now, You can't swallow it, you can't take it out in front of other people. Sometimes it becomes very embarrassing. Or sometimes this bhajia, etc., says, Swamiji, try this. Try the made of chili, green chili. I never try, but Swamiji, no, these are special kind. They are never sharp. They are very mild. I try and mine turns out very sharp, So then that thing comes back that I'm miserable. But when that conclusion drops off, that moment I'm happy. And many things help me do that. Just the rising sun, the moment I forget. Hey, look at Swamiji moon behind those leaves. Just makes you so happy. Moment you forget. Again you become self-conscious. I am so and so. Then all that cloud comes back. Again you see something else. You see you see the flowers. Momentarily you forget that. You become happy. Again, then you see the fly coming at you, and you remember it. So what is the moment of happiness? Moment of happiness is when that false notion that I am limited drops off. Or to the extent that it drops off, now there are degrees of happiness because the conclusion may not drop off completely. So when it completely drops off, anandamaya kosha. When it drops off partially, then there is a partial experience of happiness. So every experience of happiness is nothing but experience of myself. Because if a given thing had the capacity to make me happy, it should consistently do that. But there is nothing that can consistently make me happy. But whenever I am happy, there is one thing that is consistent, and that is that at that moment I am free from the notion that I am miserable. That's all. That is consistent. Now what causes that all varies, depending on time, place or condition. What enables, what creates that effect in me is different from what is good for you. But whether I am happy or you are happy or anybody is happy, that is the freedom from that notion that I am unhappy. And thus, even our experience of happiness goes to show that ananda or happiness is my nature. Are these three different things? Is Sat different from Chit? Is it different from Ananda? Not really. If you take any one of these words, we say Sat is that which obtains in all the three periods of time, which was in the past, which is in the present, which will always be in the future, which is changeless. And that is, I am. But the fact is that I am also self-revealing. Now you say that this flower is. When can you say the flower is? When you become conscious of the flower. Is there a flower in my hand? You will say no, because there is no knowledge or cognition of flower. Therefore, my determination or my conclusion or ascertainment that the flower is always accompanied with the consciousness of the flower. To be and to shine always go together. And so, what is Sat is Chit, and what is Chit is Sat. Or, what is Chit? Chit is consciousness. Well, consciousness is there throughout the waking state. There is never a moment when consciousness is not. Throughout the dream state also, consciousness is. In the deep sleep state also, consciousness is, as we discussed in the previous classes. So consciousness, it is never that consciousness is not. No, Swamiji, what happens when you become unconscious? Then also consciousness is. Like deep sleep state is comparable to becoming unconscious. So we discussed yesterday, Sukhamaham aswapsam na kinchid avedisham. I slept happily, I did not know. So in sleep also that experience of not knowing anything is there. In sleep also experience is there, and experience can be there only when consciousness is there. So consciousness is there in waking, in dream, in deep sleep state. Consciousness, it is never that it is not. It always is. That means it is Sat. What always is called Sat. And consciousness always is. Therefore, consciousness is Sat. So what is Chit is also Sat. What is the shape of this consciousness? What is the form? We said that consciousness that eliminates all the forms or qualifications itself is unqualified. It eliminates time, it eliminates space, it eliminates all qualifications. That means that consciousness is not limited to time, not limited to place, not limited to form, not limited to any qualification at all. It is limitless, it is Ananta. And that is Ananda. So what is wholeness or what is fullness? Nothing but freedom from limitation. Therefore, that Chit or consciousness also, being free from every limitation, is Ananta, and therefore it is Ananda, it is happiness. So take consciousness itself. You find that it always is, therefore it is Sat. And that it is boundless, because it elimines all boundaries. It is limitless because it elimines all limitations. So it is boundless, limitless, complete, means it is Ananda. So Chit is Ananda also. So what does it mean? It means that Chit or consciousness always exists. Existence always shines, because it is nature of consciousness to shine, to reveal, to illuminate everything. Consciousness self-shining, self-illuminating. So we have Sat or existence which is self-illuminating and which is wholeness or completeness. We have Chit which is self-existing and that which is whole or complete. We have happiness which is self-existing and self-shining. Only happiness is blocked by this ragadveshas, by I and mine and attachment, aversions. So when that cloud goes away momentarily, then happiness becomes very evident. So what is Sat is Chit, and what is Chit is Ananda. And there are many other words also used, Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta. Nitya is eternal, Shuddha is ever pure, Mukta is ever free, Buddha is ever enlightened. All of these amount to the same thing. Number of words are used to denote the self, which cannot be fitted, which cannot be the literal meaning of any word, but each word helps us. Ultimately, will go beyond the limit of that word. And we don't have time to discuss, too much about this, but the idea is that the reason why these three words, Sat, Chit, Ananda, are used is because each word has a certain meaning in our language. And by Sat also we understand something limited, by Chit also we understand something limited, by Ananda also we understand something limited. So each word helps to free the other words from the limitations. And that is how, between this Sat, Chit, Ananda, it reveals the self that is self-existing, self-shining, self-sufficient. Who am I? Self-existing. I don't need anything else to be. Self-shining. I don't need anything else to shine. And I am self-sufficient. I do not need anything else to be content, to be sufficient, to be complete. Self-existing, self-shining, self-complete or whole, this is what I am. In conclusion, on the page 27, the last sentence, Evam Satchidananda Swarupam Svatmanam Vijaniyad. Evam, in this manner, Svatmanam Vijaniyat. May one know oneself. Vijaniyat, may one know. Svatmanam, oneself. May one know oneself, meaning that one should know oneself. This sentence says that one should know oneself. But I know who I am. No, not that way. Satchidananda Swarupam. One should know oneself as Satchit Ananda. As we've been saying, we all know ourselves. But not that way. I know myself. Who am I? A mortal being. I am an ignorant being. I am a sorrowful being. I am a limited being. That's how I know myself. No, that's not that way. Satchidananda Swarupam Svatmanam Vijaniyat. May one know oneself as Satchit Ananda, as existence, awareness, wholeness. May one know that way. Why should I bother about that? Well, because it is ignorance of that which is the cause of all the sorrow. Because when I look upon myself as mortal, there is sorrow. Ignorance, sorrow. Limited, sorrow. What is sorrow? Sense of limitation. What is sorrow? Sense of mortality. What is sorrow? Sense of ignorance. Inasmuch as the way I know myself today is the cause of sorrow, there is no other cause of sorrow other than the way I know myself. Meaning that my false perception about myself is the cause of sorrow. And you can tell me some other cause of sorrow. when you come in the evening with a question answer, maybe you can work on this exercise. Cause of sorrow. Tell me some causes of sorrow. Our answer is clear. What is the cause of sorrow? My false perception about myself is the only cause of sorrow. No other event in the world can make me sad if my perception is not impacted. What happens is the events in the world manage to impact my perception and make me feel helpless, make me feel small. The way I am treated, I am made to feel small. The way when I am separated from something near and dear, then I feel isolated, I feel helpless, I feel a void. So therefore, it is that perception about myself that causes sorrow. The events around me manage to cause that perception in me. If I do not cooperate with them, whatever can happen. And if I know myself as Satchidananda, when I am very clear about it, and they will tell us what should be the nature of this knowledge. That nature of knowledge should be such is not assailed by anything. If I am not clear, or if I am not very sure, if I am not very firm, then I can be easily assailed. In our day-to-day life also, we know certain things, but sometimes somebody questions us. Are you sure, Swamiji? So, I think I am very sure about certain Upanishad, what it says. Are you sure? I think it comes from some other Upanishad, that statement. I am shaken up, But if I am very clear, that doesn't matter what they think. Similarly also, if I am clear as to who am I, such that nothing can shake up that kind of firmness we should attain in our knowledge, that nothing whatever can shake me. Somebody says you are idiotic, you are stupid, you are fool, you are not. Okay, fine, You are also right and I am also right. There is stupidity in my intellect. There is foolishness in my intellect. There is whatever in my body. What you say is right. That is because you look at my personality and this is what you say, but I know who I am. In spite of this stupid mind, I am still Satchidananda. In spite of this miserable body, I am still Satchidananda. None of these things deny the fact that I am Satchidananda. If I know that, what can people tell me? They can make comment about my body. What else can they do? They can make comment about my mind, about my intellect, about my behavior, about my knowledge, about my memory, about something. If I identify myself with them, then I feel there is comment about me. See, when you say something about my body, I say, why did you tell me that? But that is because I told you only about your body. But when I identify the body, then what is said about body becomes said about me. Now that's my problem. If I can create a distance and I know the separatedness, doesn't matter what you say about the body, what you say about the mind, what you say about the ego, doesn't touch me. And so understand that this is the only solution for becoming free from sorrow. There is nothing else in the world that can make us free from sorrow other than knowing that sorrow can never touch me. And if you allow the sorrow to touch us, then it will always happen. People will find different ways, of manipulating and making me feel bad. But it's up to me to judge myself based on my body, based on my mind, based on my personality. So this says, evam Satchidananda Swarupam Svatmanam Vijaniya. Therefore, one should know oneself as Satchidananda, because then alone the fundamental human problem will be solved. The fundamental human problem is one of sadness or sorrow. Nobody in the world has sadness or sorrow or depression. Human being is the only one who has this. And the only solution is to know oneself as Satchidananda. In between there can be some relief measures, no doubt about that. That you can have a good house, have a good car. There are relief measures. They help me to momentarily forget that, and make me feel good about myself. It's also, we don't deny. Have it. So some gratification of ego is helpful, no doubt about that. But I said it's all temporary. They are all palliatives. These are all symptomatic treatments, and we need them. Because there is symptomatic treatment and there is a fundamental treatment. But fundamental treatment takes a long time. So we need symptomatic treatment also. When you go to a physician, Ayurvedic physician, he'll take 15 months. This medication, because suffering from disease since 15 years, so you must take medication for 15 months. Until then, should I keep on coughing? No, take this also. So that you'll be relieved of the acute problem. But as far as the chronic problem is concerned, it will take its own time. So the acute problems are there, for that we need those palliatives. But better palliatives are that do something good. If you want to avoid unhappiness, and then do something good. So punya karma, the only thing that can make us bring happiness is shubha karma, punya karma, some virtuous deed. No substance in the world makes me happy if my prarabdha is not there. There is a great distance between the cup and the lip. So cup can be there, but between cup and lip, there is, if prarabdha is not there, that cup can remain in my hand, it may get spilled, a fly may fall in, something can happen. So understand that even for getting that happiness which is relief, there also does not come ever from any substance, it only comes as a result of my past karma. It is fructification of my past good karma that brings me happiness, and fructification of my past evil karma that brings me unhappiness. No person makes me unhappy, it is that karma. The person becomes instrument in only arousing the effect of that karma, that's all. But therefore, Shubha Punya karma gives me happiness, Papa karma gives me unhappiness. So we do need happiness until this works out. Therefore, what is the solution? Solution is Punya karma. Do some good, do something good. Help out. Paropakara, serving others, helping others. That is called Punya karma. Act of charity, act of kindness, act of goodness. That is sure way of earning happiness for yourself. And so, until then do. That's why Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga means doing good, doing that which is for action based on kindness and goodness, that's Karma Yoga. That also is required, and this also is to be pursued. And ultimately it will culminate into the knowledge. But the samsara will not end until we gain the knowledge. Like until the 10th man knows that he is the 10th man, until then the search will not be over. Between there, the 10th man may give and get some. You're tired? Have some coke. You're tired? All right, sit under the tree. Here is a couch. All this can be done, Or you're tired? Have a bicycle. He's searching for the 10th man. Give him a bicycle, give him a scooter, give him a car, give him whatever, a submarine, whatever he wants. But he cannot find 10th man unless he knows he's the 10th man. So Swatman Vijaniyat. The Vijaniyat is actually an injunction. Grammatically, one should know. Atmavare drashtavya, says Upanishad, that the self must be known clearly. Drashtavya. As clearly as you see this flower, so clearly you should see yourself. What is meant is there is no doubt about this flower, no error, no vagueness. And so also the knowledge about the self must be free from doubt, vagueness, error, and that has to happen. If we don't work for it, we'll continue this journey. And someday this wisdom may dawn on us that I should pursue this knowledge. Then my life gains a right direction. And then also it may take its own time until this journey is over, but at least we are on the right track. Atmavare drashtavya. The self must be known. Sir, how should I know it? Shrotavya, mantavya, nidhyasitavya. Go to a teacher and listen about the self from the teacher. Shravanam, mananam. Then the doubts may arise in your mind, then reflect upon what you have listened to, what you understood. And if there are any doubts, get doubts clarified, either with yourself or with the help of a teacher. Having gained the clarity in knowledge, nididhyasaram, then may you assimilate this knowledge, may you make this knowledge yours, may you remove the habitual error. So with reference to knowledge, it is said that there are three obstacles. One is avaranam, ignorance. Other is samshaya, doubt. Third is viparita bhavana, habitual error. And for removing these three obstacles, These three stages, Shravanam, Mananam, Nidhyasanam. Listening to teacher, this is all briefly we are telling you. Shravanam, listening to teacher, removes our ignorance. Manam, reflection upon what I have understood, removes the doubts. Nidhyasanam, deep contemplation, eliminates the habitual error. And that's how one gains the knowledge, one gains abidance in knowledge. And this is what one should do. Tariti Shokam Atmavit, as Chandogya Upanishad says, it is the knower of the self that crosses the ocean of grief. As Lord Krishna says, Sarvam Jnana Plaveneva Rujinam Santarishyase. It is by the raft of knowledge that you will be able to cross this ocean of samsara. And thus, here a prescription or injunction or an advice that you must pursue this knowledge. It is the knowledge of my own self. It is the achievement of what is already there. The 10th man does not achieve anything new. But then there was a disowning on account of ignorance. Now he owns himself up. In our life also, on account of ignorance, there is disowning. All we need to do is to own ourselves up. So now in section until this point, the jiva, the self, has been discussed. We said there are three entities in our life: jiva, the individual; Jagat, the universe; and God, the creator. So all the three must be discussed. Then alone discussion is complete because each one is influenced by the other. I am not independent, I am part of the whole creation, and therefore I must understand creation also in order to understand myself properly. Therefore, next now is taken up the discussion on universal creation. Or putting it another way, the teaching of Upanishad is Tattvamasi, that thou art. You are that. You are Brahman. So, you are Brahman. This is the teaching. What's the meaning of you? What's the meaning of Brahman? What's the meaning of are? These three words must be understood. So, we may say that so far a discussion of what is you, Atma Kaha. What is Brahman? That also we should understand. And what is meant by the identity between the two. So we may say that this text, Tattvabodha, like any other Vedantic treatise, only delineates or discusses the meaning of this Mahavakya, Tattvamasi, that thou art. So, who are you? Who am I? I am Brahman. So, discussion about I, discussion about Brahman, discussion about am. Oh, you are Brahman. Discussion about you, about Brahman, about are. Tattvamasi, Tvampada, Tatpada, Asipada. Tvampada means meaning of the word Tvam, that is you. Tatpada, meaning of the word Tat, which is Brahman. Asi, Pada, meaning of the word Art, which is the identity between the two. So, the Tvampada has been discussed. Now the discussion of Tatpada. Everything other than Tvam is Tat. And that includes the creation as well as creator. Both of them are included in Tatpada. And therefore now the author proceeds to discuss the nature of creation. And so the next sentence is Atha Chaturvimshati Tattvotpatti Prakaram Vakshyamaha. It should not be Atha, but it should be Atha. Not Ta, but Tha must be there. Atha. Thereafter, having described the Tvampada, having described now what's the nature of the self, thereafter, we are in the process of describing Tat, what's the nature of that? Chaturvimsati Tattvotpatti Prakaram Vakshyamaha. So Vakshyamaha, we shall explain. Tattvotpatti Prakaram, the mode of origin of Chaturvimshati Tattva, of the 24th Tattva, 24 essential principles. So one way of looking at the universe is, it is made up of 24 principles. Different ways you can look at, but we have a certain model. And in keeping with that model, it is very convenient to understand the creation as made up of 24 different principles, 24 essential principles. The word is Tattva. Tattva means essential principle. So this universe is made up of these 24 essential principles. Therefore the teacher says, we shall now discuss the mode of the origin. How this 24, so universe means 24 essential principles. So how this tattva essential principles came into being? How did they originate? What is the process of creation into this 24 tattva? This is what we shall now describe. But before talking about creation, then the teacher has to talk about something else. What brings about this creation? So next sentence is Brahmashraya Satvarajastamo Gunatmika Maya Asti. Maya Asti, there is Maya. What kind of Maya? Sattva, Rajas, Tamo, Gunatmika. Maya of the nature of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. There is something called Maya which is of the nature of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Another aspect of Maya is Brahmashraya. That Maya has its ashraya or locus upon Brahman. So Maya dependent upon Brahman. So there is something called Maya dependent upon Brahman, which Maya is. Maya consists of these three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So Maya consisting of three aspects, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas is, and that Maya is dependent upon Brahman. It is a dependent principle. Maya is not an independent principle, dependent principle. Just as a pot is a dependent thing, the pot depends upon the clay for it to be. So we can say that the pot has its locus in the clay. And therefore, this ghata is what? So, mrut ashritaha. Ghata or the pot is ashritaha, is located or is dependent upon clay. So we understand what is meant by ashraya and ashrita. What is locus and what is located. The table is a locus. The clock is located on the table. Table can be called ashraya and clock is ashrita. That which supports and that which is supported. Table is support, clock is what is supported. So relationship between them is ashraya, ashrita, support and supported. But then we can come to other example. Example of this pot. There also the similar relationship is there. The pot is dependent upon clay. So clay is the ashraya, support, and pot is the ashrita, supported. And then Vedantin must move to the third example. What is the third example? The rope snake. In the rope snake example also, there is something called a snake which is totally dependent upon the rope. Isn't that so? Not every snake, but the rope snake example. So, because listening to the snake, then people think that there is no real snake anywhere, but there are real snakes. So don't think that every snake is rope. But we are talking of the rope snake. The snake which is a superimposition upon the rope, or the rope which is mistaken to be the snake. Now what about that snake? That snake is ashrita, is located or dependent upon the rope. The length of the snake is determined by the length of the rope. The curvature of the snake is determined by the curvature of the rope. We should show you that thing. It's there here someplace. Yeah. Because people may not know what it is. Here it is. Look at that. Suppose you see something like that. Lying in the garden. If this itself is lying there, you'll be scared, frightened. This is a snake. What it is a toy made of wood actually from many joints. But anyway, imagine this is a rope. That also used to be here. I think that has gone now. Huh? There is. There used to be here. But I think now this new thing has come, and so the old thing has gone away. There it is. I don't know what is the purpose of this, but this, you know. But in fact, there was a rope nicely, twisted into a snake-like thing, you see. So this is what we mean by rope snake. If you did not understand what it is, this is it. A rope which is mistaken to be snake. That's called rope snake. Or something like this, rope snake. What in fact is rope, but for which we have the notion or the false perception that it is a snake. Now that snake is totally dependent upon the rope. The length of the snake is the length of the rope. The curvature of the snake is the curvature of the rope. The shining of the snake is the shining of the rope. The location of the snake is the location of the rope. The snake is dependent in every way upon the rope. Snake has no independence at all. It's totally dependent. Therefore, the sarpa is what? Rajju ashritaha. The sarpa or the snake has its ashraya, locus in Rajju. And that is what Vedantin likes. That example he likes the most. The pot clay is okay, but this is the one. Similarly also, the Maya is dependent upon Brahman. What's the relationship between Brahman and Maya? Be very clear about this. What's the relationship? Not that between pot and not that between table and the clock. Not that between the clay and the pot. But similar to that between the rope and the snake. Snake is a superimposition upon the rope. Maya is a superimposition upon Brahman. But in spite of superimposition upon the rope, rope does not change. Rope remains rope. Meaning that without giving up its true nature, the rope appears as a snake. And this is most important. The rope, without giving up its ropeness, giving up its true nature, just appears as a snake. And therefore, even when we superimpose a snake upon the rope, and somebody is superimposing a garland upon the rope remains a rope. Superimposition does not bring about any change at all in what we call substratum, or that upon which, the locus upon which the projections take place. That's the beauty. So who is this Jivatma? Who is this individual soul, individual self? Is nothing but a projection upon Brahman. Who is the limited being? A projection upon the limitless self. It's a projection. It is Brahma. It's a delusion. It's a notion. And notion does not change the nature of that about which the notion is. So however I brand myself as limited, as miserable, I still remain limitless. Meaning that limitlessness that I am remains unaffected regardless of how I perceive myself. That's the most comforting thing. Suppose when I project a snake and the rope becomes a snake, then it would have been miserable. But now, the crystal may appear to be pink, but never becomes pink. All that the flower can do is to superimpose the pinkness upon the crystal, but not bring about a transformation in crystal. And so also the sense of limitation that I have is an appearance, but not a reality. And similarly also, it is the nature of Maya or nature of ignorance to create an appearance of something which is not there. While discussing ignorance, we said that there are two aspects. One is avaranam, other is vikshepa. One is veiling, other is projection. In the case of rope snake also, both these factors are at play. That is avaranam, ignorance, veiling, in as much as I do not know the true nature of rope. That is projection, in as much as I project a snake where it is not. So this projecting power is called Maya. Maya is the projecting power. Avidya is the ignorance and Maya is projecting power. But however, both are used for both. So sometimes the word Maya is used to denote ignorance also, or ignorance is used to denote that. But basically Maya means magic. Understand, Maya is a model, that's all it is. It's an example. In Sanskrit, Maya means magic. So there is something called magic. We'll accept it. That magic is always dependent upon magician. Magic cannot have an independent existence, always dependent upon magician. What does that magic do? That magic creates an appearance of what is not. And thus, a magician can show you a $100 bill, or he can create appearance of a $100 bill where there is just a piece of newspaper, or he can show it an apple and whatever, which are not there. So thus we know that it is magic. Magic is that which creates an appearance of what is not there, or it makes one thing look to be different from what it is. The magic makes a piece of newspaper look like a $100 bill. If the magician could really convert that piece of newspaper into a $100 bill, then he doesn't need to give any performances at all. He can keep on converting that. He'll be a wealthy person. He can employ all this audience, in fact. But no, it remains only a piece of newspaper, even though he creates an appearance of a bill, a $100 bill. So this magic is called Maya, and magician is called Mayavi. So Mayavi is the one who is the locus of the Maya. The magician is the one who is locus of magic. So this is taken as an example. Something similar is there in our life also. So when we are watching a performance of a magician, we are all spectators, and magician casts a spell upon all the spectators. And that is why the spectators think that what is shown there is real. Similarly also, there is a spell cast of Maya or magic or ignorance, and therefore everybody is under the spell of ignorance, and therefore we take to be real what is merely an appearance. Just as those who are watching the show of the magician take to be real what the magician shows is not there, they take it to be real because they are in the spell of magic, and so also we take to be real what is an appearance. So this magician, the great creator, the great Lord, also throws his net of magic and creates an appearance of what? Of the whole universe. Thus Vedantin will say that the whole universe is nothing but is in the place of the snake. Brahman is in the place of the rope, and universe is what? In the place of the snake. Just as a snake is a projection upon rope, so also the whole universe of name and form is a projection upon Brahman. The projection is possible only when there is a projecting power. So Maya is that projecting power like magic. In short, this Maya or the universal magic creates an appearance of universe where there is Brahman. So Brahman appears as the universe. This is how Vedanta explains creation. There is no real creation, but there is an appearance. The only creation the Vedanta accepts is appearance, like the rope appearing as a snake. So also Brahman or God appearing as the universe. Just as the rope does not give up its nature in appearing as a snake, so also Brahman does not give up its limitless. It remains limitless and appears as the universe. So the universe, which is limited in every way, however, does not create any limitation upon Brahman, which is its locus. Thus, there is this first and a proposition, first rather a background is created here, that there is something called Maya. Understand that everything is creation of Maya. Everything is a projection. And then they will tell us how the sequence of projection. Now that in Maya there is a method also, there is a method in madness as well, So in Maya is very methodical. All the order, everything is in Maya only. And so there is an order, there is a method, there is a sequence of the creation, there is an evolution, whatever you want to call it. But it is all in Maya. And so this is how the background is created before discussing the details about the creation. We'll continue. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Tadehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.